You've heard it your whole life. The grass is always greener on the other side. But here's what I found. You bring who you are wherever you go. There's beauty and good people everywhere. With kids, though, it's a different story. How do you build the best possible life for the people you love the most? I've lived a dozen places across the US in my life. Each place has left a mark on who I've become. Now I'm a family man with 3 young kids, and I'm thinking about where I want to put down roots. So I'm taking my family to some of the top spots you find on those lists, best places to raise a family, and I'm bringing you along with me. Along the way, I'll give you my honest feel for each location. I'll share with you my research on the areas that matter most to families. Things like schools, cost of living, weather, culture, access to the outdoors. This time, we visit Huntsville, Alabama for America's 250th birthday. I'm Seth, looking for the same grass, but greener. Huntsville was a surprise for me when it came up on my list. When I searched for places that maximize top-tier K-12 education, cost of living, and sunshine, Huntsville came out on top. Huntsville is now the largest city in Alabama and one of the fastest growing metros in the United States. And that growth is jobs driven. Defense, aerospace, manufacturing, not tourism. First impressions on the ground, it's greener than you expect, hillier than you thought it would be, and then there's this massive rocket that greets you on the highway as you come into town. An experience which you can't get anywhere else. And speaking of jobs, this is a large part of Huntsville's history. Huntsville was founded in 1805 by John Hunt, a Revolutionary War hero who sailed next to the natural spring which is now downtown. The same spring where the city threw America's 250th birthday party this weekend. Huntsville became the first incorporated town in Alabama and briefly was the state's capital. For the first century plus of its history, Huntsville's economy was driven by cotton. First in plantations, and then textile mills. Things started changing leading into World War II. In 1940, Huntsville was a mill town with about 13,000 people. In 1941, the Army bought 35,000 acres next door for munitions plants, Redstone Arsenal, which is still there today. In 1950, the government moved Wernher von Braun and 100 German scientists here. 8 years later, the rocket that launched America's first satellite was built in Huntsville. By 1960, NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center opened, and the Saturn V, the rocket that took us to the moon, was designed here. That history has shaped Huntsville's current identity. Huntsville is an engineering superhub with 65 years of imported talent that sits on top of 200 years of Southern history. Today, Redstone Arsenal counts for roughly 45,000 jobs. Other employers in the area include Boeing, Northrop Grumman, and Leidos. You have NASA, who's based out of here. As far as jobs go, if your career touches engineering, defense, IT, program management, or anything federal, this might be the deepest small market bench in America. And because so much of the work here is defense, a lot of the job postings require a security clearance. Which means if you're a veteran who holds one, even a dormant one, you have a real hiring advantage here. It's a military-heavy town in the most literal sense. Veterans are about 1 in 8 residents here, which is roughly double the national rate. I ended up in a conversation with a fellow veteran just sitting at the trash panda game. If you're working remote, this may not matter, though it's worth living somewhere near where you have a flexible job market. For me, I personally enjoy working in person or hybrid. So the local market matters maybe more to me than it might to you. Top-tier K-12 education put Huntsville on the map for us, specifically in Madison, which is an affluent suburb of Huntsville. This was surprising given Alabama's state ranks near the bottom for American education. Madison City Schools hosts 2 high schools, James Clemens and Bob Jones. Both schools rank in the top schools of Alabama and nationally land in the top 6 to 7% of all American high schools. Not Alabama's top 6%, but the entire country. And it's not just the high school rankings. The district's math proficiency runs about double the state average. Reading is about 25% higher. Every school in the district, elementary school through high school, grades at the top of the state. Why is this the case? This is a town where tens of thousands of parents are literally rocket scientists, and the district they built reflects that. The pattern we notice driving through neighborhoods is the towns are heavily built around families. Parks, grocery stores, and the amenities for raising kids are all readily available. So what does the Madison school zone actually cost? On paper, the typical home in Madison runs in the high 300,000s, and the county median is somewhere around low to mid 300,000s. But medians include everything: older, smaller, dated inventory. And when we actually ran our own Redfin search and drove through the neighborhoods, the realistic range for a well-maintained family home, especially 4 bedrooms or more, was around 450 to 650,000. Still, that is an excellent price for streets zoned to schools performing the top few percent in the country. If property taxes mean something to you, and based on the interest rates, every single bit helps, Alabama's effective tax rate runs at 0.4%. This is the second lowest in the country and less than half the national median. On a $400,000 home, that's a difference of thousands of dollars a year every year. If you zoom out to the entire cost of living, Huntsville runs about 9% below the national average, with housing about 27% below the national average. Coming from Phoenix, which most people still associate as an affordable city, our comparison showed Phoenix was more expensive across the board. But this is the honest truth. Cheap is a word from 5 years ago. Home prices here have climbed like everywhere else across the United States. Madison in Alabama is one of those places where the mortgage actually makes sense, given the top-tier suburb. We were excited to experience America's 250th birthday in a southern city with a lot of history. The 4th of July parade ran past our hotel, and the whole city funneled into Big Spring Park, Huntsville's founding location. And I really love the diversity we found there. People from a lot of different backgrounds. We ate an Ethiopian food truck. If we're making an honest assessment of culture, this is a mid-sized southern city. It's not Austin, it's not Nashville. There's a good food scene for its size, a walkable downtown, some breweries, live music. If you need world-class museums or a real music scene on a Tuesday night, Nashville is 2 hours to the north. Coming from a major metro, that can be a little scary. But the other side of it is things are a little slower here. Drivers speed less, people are more relaxed, and it can get genuinely quiet. If you have young kids, and you'll be living in a suburb anyway, my honest opinion is this matters less than most people think. Most of your time revolves around your kids' activities. Speaking of the music scene, my youngest really enjoyed dancing with a pair of strangers on the 4th of July. Everybody was having a great time. Huntsville sits where the Appalachian foothills run out of steam, so you get some good terrain. Montesano Mountain is over the city, greenways are everywhere, and there's some real state parks within 20 minutes. Coming from the Phoenix desert like we did, the explosion of green was a pleasant shock. The southeast sits in what's called a humid subtropical climate zone. Hot, humid summers, stormy springs, mild falls, and winters. We came in July specifically because it's the most miserable time of year, and it is. You sweat walking to your car, your kids cry about the heat, and there's points that are genuinely uncomfortable. But the heat and the humidity is what brings all that green, and it brings those classic southern summer rain showers in the afternoons.
Step back.
We got caught out in one at the Rock Museum and it soaked us, but it cooled us off and we loved it. Tornadoes are a big concern, and I lived with tornadoes before. In Oklahoma, one touched down 2 miles from where I was living. I remember the sky turning yellow and purple like a nasty bruise, and everything just went still, eerily, while we moved to shelter. Sure enough, northern Alabama sits on what meteorologists call Dixie Alley, one of the country's highest risk areas for tornadoes. It even has 2 tornado seasons, one in the spring and one in the fall. Madison County has logged over 140 tornadoes since 1950, including a devastating tornado strike in April 2011. So how do people live with it? Storm shelters and safe rooms are common in newer construction here. Weather radios are a normal household appliance. Schools drill for it. It's a real risk you plan around. And my opinion is there's going to be natural disasters or climate risks wherever you go. The West Coast has fires and flooding. The Mountain West is in a water crisis. The East Coast has hurricanes. Anywhere you go, there's going to be risk, and this is the one you're going to have to live with if you live here. Some other things to consider: commutes, 15 to 20 minutes is a normal commute. The locals will probably complain about it and tell you that it's growing too fast. One thing we learned the practical way: Huntsville is not the most accessible place. It has its own airport, but the direct flight map is thin. For our trip, our direct flight went through Nashville, so we flew there and drove 2 hours in. It's not a deal breaker, but if you're like us with a family in another city, ours are in Salt Lake City, and you have to visit in both directions, there's going to be a connection or a drive involved. One thing I didn't go into, but about 6 hours away you have the Gulf Shores, beautiful, pristine beaches. There's lots of cities nearby: Knoxville, Birmingham, Atlanta. You can really get in the Appalachian Mountains. And so there is a lot of that great things you can experience in this part of the country that you may not have access to where you are. We had a blast with our kids. We dropped by downtown Madison's Main Street and got some gelato. While there, a train ended up running right through the town, which the kids loved. They loved the baseball game, which had an insanely packed playground on site, and they are obsessed with the Trash Panda mascot. We enjoyed the park in midday in 100+ degree weather alongside 3 other families. Celebrating the 4th of July, people were so gracious. They handed out stickers. This family gave us an extra pair of glowing sunglasses because kids were losing it. The kids vibed to the music and fed the ducks. The farmers market was idyllic. We got some juicy, fresh pizzas and other fresh produce. And the Rocket Museum is something you could genuinely spend your whole day on. We spent a few hours and barely scratched the surface, and the kids had a blast. They have Space Camp there, which you can send your kids to in the summer. I'm gonna have you watch and see a little bit more for yourself.
I told you, don't go near her. What do I have? Evie, what do I have?
So who is Huntsville for? Huntsville is built for the family that runs on school, space, and Saturday mornings. If your career touches engineering, defense, or anything federal, the numbers line up. Top 6% in America's schools, a housing market your budget can actually breathe in, some of the lowest taxes in the country, and a city growing fast enough to keep building. The data genuinely points to the greater Huntsville area as a great place to raise your family. On the other side, it's a mid-sized city with a mid-sized ceiling. The summer is a sauna, and tornado season is something you have to be aware of. There's real access to nature, but you're missing the real big mountains of the West, and the coast is a significant drive away. Overall, we really loved Huntsville, and specifically, we enjoyed envisioning ourselves raising our family in Madison, Alabama. Is that where we want to plant ourselves? We'll see. I'm Seth, looking for the same grass, but greener. See you in the next city.